Welcome to Education Without Borders. We want to now dwell in research matters. In research, the first thing that comes to mind is you want to undertake a research because there's a problem. And most of the problems that these days we want to look at are the problems in society. One of the problems in society that we need to do a research on is something to do with how do people relate, for example. And in any research, the first thing you start with is something called hypothesis. And the hypothesis is a very simple statement where you start with a certain position. For example, I may say that relationships are influenced by how you are brought up. A relationship in adulthood is affected by your childhood. I can even use a hypothesis that your relationship in adulthood is not related to how your childhood was. So this is an example of a hypothesis that is addressing in a research that seeks to address or to understand why relationships go the way they do. Why do I say this? I say this because most of the time, even the work we do, our performance is affected greatly by relationships because you cannot work in a silo. You need people to work with. You need their senior people, there are people horizontally at your level. You also work with subordinates, and they all are very important. They are the people who make work become productive and you get a result. The same thing applies to any relationship in society. It could even be family, it could be extended family, nuclear family, it could be groups, it could even be in schools. And each one of us started off as a child. So the relationships that we developed in childhood cannot be ignored because they were the foundations. And when we talk about relationships in childhood, I want to go back to in science, in mathematics. When you develop equations, an equation has to be developed from first principles. And an equation is something that says something on the left-hand side is equal to the something on the right-hand side. And that has to be equated, okay? And we always say to develop an equation, because equations can be very, very complicated. Mathematical equations or models can be very, very complicated, but they all develop from basic principles or first principles or fundamental principles. So in this lesson, which we want to look at what is hypothesis, how can we use these experiences to solve real life issues. So early childhood. Who influences your early childhood? When you are born into a unit. Maybe a family. You could be one parent, two parents, and even siblings. And therefore, when you grow up, your relationships or your character actually is developed by the influences from those people that you grew up around. And the closest person is a parent. A parent means the figure can be biological, can be foster, can be even a parental figure. And the influence that this parent will have on you as you grow up. The hypothesis I want to put in here is that that child that you were now comes out to play in adulthood. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that the relationship, for example, that I had with my father will influence the relationships that I will have with the person that I will relate with in my adulthood. And therefore, for you to be able to understand me fully, ask yourself, what kind of a relationship did I have with my parent? The way I will respond when interacting with even colleagues. If I am a female, for example, I have colleagues, male colleagues, and also female colleagues. The way I will respond to my male colleagues will be influenced by how my relationship with my dad was. The person I'm relating with, if they really want to understand me, let them ask themselves, what kind of relationship did I have with my dad? Once they're able to understand that, the hypothesis here is that then you'll be able to understand how likely am I to respond in a particular manner, or to even be able to take it and carry on understanding that I have brought in my childhood. And this hypothesis also applies to my relationship with my parent of the same gender. I'm a female, I was brought up by a mother, or I had a mother figure, mother-parent figure. The relationship I had with that mother-parent figure, which is a mother figure of my gender, that relationship is very important for anybody who wants to understand me, to know how did you relate growing up? How was your childhood influenced by your mother? If you understand that, then you are likely to know or to understand how I will relate with you in adulthood. And the same hypothesis can be brought even in relationships in marriage. These days, that is in the 21st century, there are a lot of complications in relationships, and we keep talking about, oh, it is the social media, it is the technology. Technology is a good thing, but we need not blame it on everything. Why don't we look and ask ourselves, how are the relationships between millennials and their parents? If you have a boy child, how did they relate with their mother? How did they relate with their dad? Whether biological or dad figure or mother figure for that matter. The minute you understand that relationship, then it will be much, much easier to navigate around relationships in adulthood. In summary, in this short discussion about hypothesis, because we are scientists, our viewers are scientists, our viewers have done research, let us start learning. We'll start learning how to undertake research to solve real life problems, or to understand real life problems. And in this episode, because I know I have viewers who are keenly listening, you are my sample. I want you to drop a comment there and tell me, do you think your childhood is brought into your adulthood? It actually comes to play in your adulthood. And the people you are able to relate very well with are the ones who relate very well with that child that comes into the adult. What we learn in this lesson, again, is that it's very important to pay attention and to be very deliberate as parents, as parent figure, as mother figure, as dad figure, to be deliberate about the influence you are having on that child who is growing up, looking at you and copying and pasting who you are, because that child will play out in their adulthood, and that will influence their relationships. This is Education Without Borders, where in this episode we have been looking at a hypothesis that the child you were becomes the adult you are today. This affects relationships. Thank you for watching. We shall be looking at the comments that you have dropped to either nullify or qualify the hypothesis that the child you were comes out to play as the adult you are today. Thank you for watching Education Without Borders. We shall be with you for more episodes as we explore research in real life challenges.